Good afternoon, YouTubers. I'm not an expert, and today I'd like to talk about Stanley Type 17 planes. This is my newest one. I just picked this up on Saturday. Type 17 is a Stanley plane range that was made during World War II, from 1942 to 1945, 46. They had some cost cutting, so they're a little bit different than the planes before the war and after the war. So let's talk about some of the features that make a Type 17 different. The first very obvious one is that the knob and tote are not made of rosewood anymore. They're made of hardwood. Now this one someone has taken and cleaned the finish off of. They normally have black paint. This knob appears to me to be beech. Let me show it up close. You can see the grain of that. That looks like beech to me. I'm not sure what the tote is. You can see down here on the toe of the tote, some of the black paint remains. They originally were painted black. Another standout feature is that the lever cap, pull this off, the leather cap would be plain steel. This one, someone has done some fix-up work on this. You can see the sanding line. But they were not nickel-plated. They will, not always, but usually have a patent date on them. Sometimes they used old stock, so you might not have a patent date. But normally, starting with I think 16s, patent dates were normal. This one's got a little chip in the corner there. Just saw that. Okay, the next obvious change is that the adjuster knob is made of hard rubber. Sometimes they're all steel. You can see that that's a steel bushing with a hard rubber knob. Sometimes the entire knob is hard rubber, and it would be entirely possible that there could be a brass one too, because they used up their old stock. Now, one other common feature is not having a frog adjustment screw. This one does have the frog adjustment screw, which suggests that this one was some older stock being used up. If it doesn't have the frog adjustment screw gizmo, it usually won't have the hole for the thread for this bottom screw. But that's a very common feature of Type 17s. And of course, there's no patent date because they weren't putting patent dates on them anymore at that time. And the casting wall thickness is heavier on a 17. It's kind of hard to really know. Yeah, I just take everybody's word for it that that's the case. But that's what makes it different, right? The cheaper wood. Oh, and steel screws. The knob and tote screws are one piece of steel. Now, let me see if I can pull one out. Let's try it. Oh, it's a good view of my hand. There it is. So it's one piece. It doesn't have the separate brass nut on the end. It's just a big one-piece bolt. That's a Type 17 feature, all steel, no brass. There's no brass on them anywhere. That brass would have been used probably to make field telephones or something. The blades are really normal, everything else. So they're perfectly good plane, even though it doesn't have, a lot of them don't have the frog adjuster, which you really don't need. The frog is still adjustable. You'd still have these screws here, and you can still adjust it back and forth, just not as easy. But that's kind of a luxury feature. So let's take a look at my collection of Type 17s. So I got these other two. This is a 4.5, which has a Hawk blade in it. I bought that at an estate sale. Nice gentleman was having his own estate sale, letting his stuff go while he still could. And this is a number 3 Type 17. Now, I've looked around on YouTube a bit, or on eBay. This is a real typical of a Type 17. It has hardwood with paint. It has no frog adjustment screw. It has the hard rubber knob. Right, that's what most of them are going to look like. But this is a number 3. And I noticed on eBay that the Type 17, there's the knob, no frog adjustment screw. The number 3s often have this other wood that's varnished. That doesn't look like rosewood, but it's got a varnish, not a paint. And I saw a lot of them like that. Okay. One thing about Type 17s is the war was on, and although they had made changes, they always continued to use up their old parts. And my last Type 17 is this 5.5. Let's see if I can find room. It's so big it won't fit on the camera. Okay, so that's a 5.5. Move the camera a little bit. And this one I've put a Rob Cosman adjust star on it, and it has a Hawk blade. Because when I bought it, the blade had quite a bit of corrosion I just didn't want to take the time to grind that much metal off. It has the hardwood and the steel. The tote does have a crack in it. I was using this quite a bit, and I cracked the tote. But there's a 5.5 with it. And that one also does have the adjusting screw. But I do believe it's a correct 17. It did have the hard rubber knob and the hardwood. So there they are. That's my collection. I have 4 Type 17s. I do have a lot of planes, various sizes, and some duplicates. Most of my duplicates are Type 19s, which are early 1950s planes. But these are neat. I just kind of like them. You know, they really aren't, I guess, as desirable as users as the types before them that would have all the features and the nickel plating and, a little lighter casting. But they work perfectly good. There's nothing wrong with them. And I just think it's kind of fun, since I've happened onto 3 of them, I went ahead and got a 4th, just to have, some consistency in some of my collection. So I'm always on the lookout. I'd really like to find a number 4. I've seen, I think, 6s out in the eBay sphere, but they're kind of hard to find. They just turn up. That's kind of how it goes. All right, well, that's all the information I have on my Stanley Bailey Planes Type 17. If you got any comments, please leave them below. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll catch you later.